All right, we're live. Hello,
Hi guys.
everybody, to episode 4 with the Talking Stick podcast. Today's guest is going to be Jessa, and here she
Jessa
is.
Calderon.
Do a little intro. Let me invite her real quick. So, we're excited to have this artist on our page and on our Instagram. Here she is joining us right now. What's going on?
Hey fam, how are you?
Good seeing you.
Likewise.
You want to say hi?
Say hi.
Hi. Happy belated birthday to both lovely ladies.
Thank you.
Yep.
2-day party.
Yep, 2 day
Tired.
party. She's exhausted over here.
Nice. How did that go?
Wallets burned.
It went good. It went good.
Just a real small gathering?
Oh yeah. Like for me, for my birthday, we just took pictures. We got a cake, and that was it. And then for her, I went not all out, but I made like a bunch of decorations for her, and then her grandparents came over,
Oh,
and
nice.
his sister, and it was just us, just immediate family, and yeah, that was it. It was like back to back.
Nice. I know, I saw that. I was like, dang, they're going to be busy throughout these next years having to do celebration. Oh.
I know. I didn't realize it until this year. I was like, damn, that's gonna be like every year now.
Yeah, I had to give up my birthday for my little cousins because we share
Oh.
the same weekends or whatever. So I'm like, all right, it's whatever y'all want to do. But I didn't realize that everybody was gonna have a COVID birthday.
Oh, Monday. You want to play rock, paper, scissors?
I want to play rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, you want to play with it? Mira, lo va a-
Ready? Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, you won.
Yay.
One
Okay,
more.
one more. Okay,
Rock,
and I'm done.
rock, paper, scissors.
Scissors.
Yeah, do scissors. I know you won.
Yay.
Good game.
Uh-huh. Good job. No, that's gonna sit right there.
Okay.
Okay.
In the new mask you got going, that looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, thank you. Oh my God. Like coming out with new things or trying to like change it up a little thing, like in the background, people don't know, but it just takes a lot, like testing or trial, and then okay, once we figure
Right.
something out, what fabric, how many, and then to produce it all, and then having kids,
Yeah.
and having like, just other things going on. But I was pretty excited once it finally came out, and like people were liking it. I gotta send you one. Let me know which one you like, and I'll send you one.
Good looking. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I like them. They're good. And you know me, I'm gonna definitely wear it and take pictures and let people know where to get it.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you always do. Thank you for always showing us love.
Yep.
You
Always
already
sharing
know.
my
You already-
designs. Okay.
It's how our family love. Gotta let 'em
Yeah, I know. Okay, so let me see. We got a few people on. Stop being a sec. Okay, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves, and then again, like he said, thank you everybody for tuning in to Talking Stick episode number 4. We're here with Jessa Calderon. Jessa is Tongva and Chumash. She is a songwriter, author, poet, hip hop artist, performer, hypnotherapist, massage
Babysitter.
therapist, energy worker, and she does guided meditation. I mean, she does it all. And girl, you keep adding more things to your list. Since I met you, it's like more things going and going, which I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. I know that you've been learning a lot of things too, like touching into different things that you're doing now. Like because when I met you, you were just doing singing and rapping. Okay, hold on. Please take over.
Culturally. And rapping. She's all excited. But yeah, one thing that I wanted to touch upon was the two worlds, right? You're down there in SoCal, and a little bit on your background growing up. That's what I want to go over first. So how was it down there?
So growing up for me, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles County. So it was like, we always knew that we were native and native to this general area,
Uh-huh.
but we grew up with mostly like Mexicanos, right? Chicanos, like that
Yeah.
whole Cholo vibe was going on. So all of us natives, you know, that grew up out here, we those of us, okay, hold on, let me take that back. Those of us who walked the native way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, had so much struggle because we were living in the barrios, right? We were living in the
Mm-hmm.
hoods. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
like we come home from powwow and it's like gunshots and crack cocaine and you know what I mean?
Wars going on.
Joints, and
Yeah.
it was just so much illegal activity that we were growing up in and around, and it was hard to navigate. But being that we had like the native lifestyle to support us and the teachings in it, it was easier for us to understand how that wasn't the way, but still kind of like, you know, I remember one time I was walking up the street and I was in normal clothes and I got harassed by the cops. In fact, there was 2 male cops and they were digging in my pockets and you know, reaching in where they shouldn't have been reaching in. And then fast forward to like 2 weeks after that, I was in my scrubs, right? Because I was going to school for massage therapy, and I seen like a wall
Mm-hmm.
of people that were being harassed, and I was free to walk past them with no issues because I was wearing these scrubs. And so surely I was a good person then, or whatever. I don't know how they like measure it,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of that, like just struggle of, you know, being judged. Like imagine me growing up in the hood at 15 years old with this marking, which this is what our women would get for their coming of age ceremonies, right? So imagine how these ignorant cops would be treating me then, when all I'm doing is representing my
The
identity,
culture, yep,
right?
your identity.
And so it's like
practice
growing up in the hood with this skin color, it's a crime, straight up. And so it was hard, you know, and I'm grateful that I made it past 18 because I really didn't think I was. And then when I made it to 21, I was like mind blown, you know, and now here I am in my 30s. Like I'm very grateful for it.
Elder status, huh?
No.
Hey, out here in the hood, that's veterana status. You're a veteran at that point.
Damn.
Once you live past 25 in the hood, you're a veteran.
Oh man.
But yeah, I can relate to you on that subject. But with me, I didn't have that culture, so I kind of was going more towards that way, towards like, well, I was hanging out with gangsters, you know, being in the hood and all that. Like I started going that way, but then like, I slowly started growing up, and then I started seeing things differently. And so it took me a while to like get out of that mindset. But I completely understand on everything that you're saying, seeing it now, how I'm learning about culture, that it would have been twice as hard for me to navigate something like, or to try to avoid certain things, or like, how do I go, like, where do I go with this, or this is how the culture is, but then you're living where it's happening way different, and you have to like adapt to where you're growing up at, because then you, like you said, you may not make it to a certain age. And so I know that could be like an issue too, adding on more to like, which way do you go from there? But oh,
but you know what? Don't get it twisted. I did hang out with the cholos.
I know.
Because growing up in the hood, you have all these, you know, Mexicanos being like, "Oh, it's so cool that you're native. I wish I was native," you know. And I'm like, bro, we're rocking the same skin color, dog. Like, you're native, but
my culture
your
in you,
people
like,
are from Mexico. Acknowledge it, identify it, out of it. You're not Spanish, bro. You ain't got blue eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're from the same continent that I'm from. So I would educate a lot of these cholos, and I give them the ideas, because, you know, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes, and I've committed crimes and things that I shouldn't have done, desperate measures, and I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't, you know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I always had, you know, when I was like 8, I'll take it back. When I was 8, I was already meditating and, well, call it what you want, but sitting with self, you know, sitting with self and listening from within and that whole thing. So I already knew that I was going to be a massage therapist. I would always tell my mom, why do I have to go to school? I already know what I want to do. Why can't I just go to massage school? You know, and it was just that thing of like, no, this is the order that it goes. So I always had those things. So in the hood, when they're like, gangbang culture, this and that, I'm like, I hang out with you guys because we're lost people. Like, we vibe with each other in that way of, having the anger and the depression and the white man's against us, and we all it's there's similarities in these cultures, so we identified with each other in so many ways, and we love to smoke pot, so it was cool. But there was a point for me where I was like, no, I'm not going to take that exact route y'all are taking, because I know what I want to do. I already know that this is what I'm going to do as soon as I graduate high school, or, as soon as I turn 18. And so I knew what I wanted for me. Whereas the majority of these people that I grew up with, they don't know what they want to do because they're so lost in the system. And to give you an example, myself, when I was 12, I was told by a substitute teacher that I was going to go to juvenile hall at 12. 13, I'll be pregnant, and I'll be dead by 15, because that's just how it goes for you people, right? And so how many children my age hear that and go, okay, so I'm going to just go be a no good piece of whatever, because that's what these white adults are telling me that I'm worth.
Programming.
Yeah, so a lot of the kids in the hood would fall into those categories because of what's being pressed on them. And I was that one person that, because I was always within, I would like fall into that category for a second, because it does, it starts to condition you. And then I would sit within, and I'm like, no, remember your path, and so I'd go back on path, and then the conditioning hits you again, right? There's more stuff being piled and thrown at you, and so I start to go off trail, and then I'll sit within, and I'm like, no, remember your path. So I've always had that blessing to like push me back in the right direction.
Nice.
Wow, that's good. And when did you start rapping?
Well, for me, it started as poetry. So I started doing poetry when I was about 8 or 9 years old too. After when I knew I was going to be a massage therapist, I was already massaging people, right? 8 years old. And at the same time, I was told that I was also going to be an entertainer. So I was already singing and writing my poetry, and I was writing stories. Nobody knows this about me, but at that age, I was writing stories. And
I didn't know that.
I had never really said it.
Yeah.
With my brother, two of my brothers, we were listening to Cypress Hill and different hip hop groups and whatnot. And my brother Steven really picked it up. He was like a really, really good rapper. And he was one of those rappers that like will sit there and pick on every single thing about you and like clown you and make you like go home crying, And but that was like the cypher world. That's what it was about, So I would watch them when I was about 12. I would watch them in their little circle, and they'd go one by one and bust flows. And then finally, I remember sitting there going, that's poetry. That's just poetry over a beat. I could do that. So I was kind of like thinking for like a minute of what could I say? Because I don't want to say anything and sound stupid, So I went into the circle and just these two guys, right? And I'm just standing there like, let's see if anybody notices. And so this guy goes, and then I went. And everybody was just like, okay, there's this girl who never says a word, and all of a sudden she's rapping. So that's what started it for me right there, because they all came up and gave me my props and was like surprised and said I was good. And so then I was like, oh, okay, I could do this. I could be a rapper. So I started writing then. And then at 15, working with my brother, doing hooks for him, who they called him Custom Rhymes. And then at 16, I was writing for other people in around the neighborhood. Wow. And at 18, I was put into like a rapping crew. They were like a Chicano, Mexicano rapping crew from Pacoima. And they were huge. When I was a kid, they were huge. So I remember sitting on the curb listening, and I'm like, one day I'm going to work with these guys, watch. And then next thing you know, I'm part of their crew. And I'm singing their and so that happened when I was 18. And then when my brother passed away when I was 22, I stopped. I just said, forget it. I'm done. I don't want to do this. And then when Honor was 2 years old, when I was, I guess, 25, so 3 years old. When I was 25, he was like, no, Mom, you got to go to the studio. You got to get back in it. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. So it just kind of like spiraled into it because I took him to the studio just to check things out and mess around. And from that point, people were like kind of throwing it on me. Oh yeah, you're gonna drop an album and you're gonna do this, this, and that. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But it just, I could feel the pressure from the community of how much they wanted me to do it, you know. And I was just like, you know what, just for shits and giggles, let's go. And then it just kind of turned into where I'm at now.
Nice.
I know. I've seen the songs that you came out with, your videos. Like, I've seen it all. Like, as you're coming out with them, I'm like, oh, she made a video. Like, oh, she has this and she's seen that. Like, I've seen how you've come out with a bunch of stuff because we met, like, well, I met you when I met Johnny. Like, when I was with Johnny, I met everybody in the powwow circle. So let's just say like 2012 that we met. So we've known each other for a while, but yeah, I've seen everything that you've been coming out with and doing. Like I said, I'm proud of you. That's awesome. That everything that you've been doing.
Thank you. You know what, the interesting thing about that is a lot of people, when I first started doing my music and I dropped the album or whatever, a lot of people that I grew up with, they're like, hey, put me on, like if I'm some big timer. And I'm like, dude, like I would go to work for massage, right? And I would get my tips. So a lot of my cash tips, I would save it to the side and I would save up for a beat, you know? So I get my beat, match the song that I'm going to do to it. And then I go to work and I save my tips. And then I make enough tips so that I can go into the studio. And so it was my, you know, tips that were paying for my side hustle. And, you know, I'd go into the studio, record my track. And so I had to pay for all of that out of pocket. So people think like either that I'm rich or that it's hella easy. But either way, there's hell no, it ain't. I'm not rich. It's not easy. But it's dedication. Like, how much do you really want to put your stuff out? Whether you're good or you're not. If it's your passion, it's about having that means. I know, like, I don't want to put anyone on blast, but some people that I know and love, they think that, well, if I want to do this, if I want to be a rapper, then all I got to do is just rap. But it's like, you got to know the business stand of it. You know, you got to have the financial means to support you, you know? So there's a lot more to it than just like, but I'm a good rapper, you know? Because a lot of good rappers out here in the hood, they don't ever get heard because they don't have that financial backing.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, so I wanted to throw that out in case anybody here watching, you know, thinks that it's that easy. Like, no, find your hustle that's going to put you up on what it is you really want to do, you know? And then even at that, you know, I would go to the powwows and sell my stuff there. Like, you've got to have a place where you can sell your merch and all of that, you know, to make that work for you and get your word out.
And then dedication, just like you said, is like, once you started, like, are you willing to go through all these obstacles and still keep pushing and going and figuring it out as you go? It's doable. Anybody out there, it's doable. But, you know, Jessa's giving everybody tips on like what to expect, or like just giving you guys help. Like, if you're ready, go for it, but get ready, or figure things out as you go.
Get an S corp.
Yeah.
Escort?
Yeah, S corp. Put it all in that corporation.
Oh,
Business plan.
It's to take care of yourself, because you also don't, you know, you don't want to just put it all on your name. If you're out performing and something happens, like, do you? So if you realize your business aspect, you're looking out for yourself.
But nonetheless, enjoy it, have fun with it, and because that's what can also drive you to it.
Yeah, no, and it's been fun. Like, that's the one thing too I'm realizing is how much, you know, you do say something's going to happen, how things can happen for you, you know. And like I said, I remember sitting on that curb being like, I'm gonna work with these guys. I'm gonna work with these guys. And so one day I was hanging out with my adopted brother, Giant, and he was like, hey, I'm gonna take you to meet this guy real quick. And he's the one who introduced me to that crew, you know?
Oh,
So it's just when you put things in the universe, it totally can work for you, you
it's
know?
crazy how it happens, huh?
Yeah, you know. And so even with the music, I was like, I don't know. But then at the point, I know you remember when I signed with that really famous we'll call him an actor, right? Well,
Yeah.
he's an actor.
Who's
It
that?
was so
I'll tell you
toxic.
later.
Who's that? Who's
I know
that?
I don't like to put him on blast, but it was such
Oh
a
yeah.
toxic environment for me.
Mm.
Like it was funny because he would be like, "Don't be native in public. Don't be native in public."
Damn.
And him, he'd be like, "Oh, mija, did I tell you that I'm native?" And I'm like, "Are you for real?" Like, just it was horrible. But so I remember like being in that feeling and being like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I don't want this. And then I went to go perform, and I met Frank Juan and Tanea Winder and all of these, you know, beautiful artists.
I
And I
know that
remember,
guy. I picked him up at the airport.
huh?
I know that guy. I picked him up at the airport. Frank.
Hey, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, yeah, so I watched them perform out here in LA, and I wanted Honor to meet Frank because that was his favorite rapper. So I went through hoops to get that to happen, you know? And in the process, I ended up performing. So I got to
Yeah, with
I
Mm-hmm.
Taboo and oh my god.
oh
Go
no,
ahead.
no, that was Indigenous Peoples Day, but this was one that was happening at the Grand Park. And
How
because of
long? How
Frank,
long was this ago? How long was this ago? I missed out on an important thing.
I think this was like 3 years ago.
Well, when I got on council, huh? My whole life just turned and everything just went like crazy.
Because at that time I was still part of this guy's record label,
I didn't even
right? So,
know.
Oh,
oh
Damn.
yeah, you know what? On my old Instagram, there was still videos and pictures and things about how he would take us certain places. There was a lot of good that came out of it. I
Okay.
had a lot of
Food. Good
fun with
food. Good
with
food.
girls that I was with performing. It was a lot of fun, but there was so much toxicity in the background. I was learning what I didn't
Damn.
want. So
I
I
missed
went
out then.
and I watched the Dream Warriors perform, right? And
Uh
I
huh.
was just, I want to be with them because they're just like, they're just so filled with love
Uh huh.
and native understanding. You know, like it was cool to be native with them. And the way they'd be
Mhm.
like, hey, go out there and heal it. To me, I was like, man, that's good medicine. I want to be a part of them.
Mhm.
And so I put it in the universe. I was like, I want to change. I want to be with Dream Warriors. I don't want to be with this guy. And some stuff went down. He ended up slapping my hand in front of Honor. And I was
Damn.
like, you know what, Honor? It's never okay for a man to hit a woman no matter what, no matter how. It's never okay. So I left just like that.
Man, I missed out on a lot. Where
And
the hell have I been
so,
at?
like, I think it was the following year. It went a whole year after I left that group of
Wow.
kind of doing my own side stuff that Tanea reached out and was like, hey,
Okay.
do you want to be a part of Dream Warriors? To which I
Uh-huh.
cried and was like, hell yeah.
Wow. And you don't tell me any of this?
you never wanted to hear me.
You never want to talk to me?
Nope.
She
Wow.
probably your yes, honey.
Pregnant.
Yes.
That was pregnant ending then.
No, that was newborn Yendi.
Oh,
Because we just had Yanessa. Like it was in that stage.
Yeah.
It was.
It was in that era. It was, you know, it was a crazy experience, but I'm not going to regret a moment of it. I also don't, I don't want to go doing lawsuits and all that other toxic stuff either. I just let it go.
You learn from it.
Yeah.
You go.
There was a time that he was like, Mija, what are you going to do? Are you going to sue me? And I was like, nah, homie, I'm from the barrio. We don't get down like that.
Take some tacos though.
But you know what? He does owe me money though. So yeah, I'm like, I think I'm
Oh.
free food though. No.
Wow. Damn.
That's crazy. Okay, let me see. Another thing we want to touch on too. We kind of touched on this subject about the two worlds. How you have like your culture world. Let's say, you know, like just an example, like you have your culture world, then you have like this, I don't know what you call it, like modern or society world.
Yeah.
It's like you're living in two worlds because you have this culture, but then sometimes you can't share that with other people or they don't understand. Like
Spirituality world.
Yeah, spirituality world. So it's like, how do you handle that? Or right, like that's what we want to know, like how she handled it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just quit my job. Eh. Which I actually did though. I did. I guess I'm really blessed because I work in the kind of industry, you know, as a massage therapist, an energy worker, and like all of that realm that I work in, people are seeking somebody like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. I'm not going to give them all of our ins and outs of our culture, our cultural
Mm-hmm.
ways and ceremonies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Yeah.
I bring my nativism to the table because I can't separate myself from that, you know. And when this whole thing went down recently with the Black Lives Matter, you know, with George Floyd and everything, there was some racist things that had taken place at my job where I don't know the exact thing, but it did lead me to quit, is that either my manager was being super toxic because me and her have had disputes over my indigeneity, where she's so ignorant and racist and would say really racist, ignorant things. And I would respectfully let her know, you know, and she didn't like,
That was big of you.
didn't like the way she's getting, you know, told that she's wrong, because she believed with all her heart she wasn't being a racist, you know. And I'm like, you have to understand, if a Native person is telling you that that's not right, then just leave it alone, because you're not Native. So how
You
could you know?
understand?
Right, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would have these disputes. So now fast forward to this whole George Floyd happening. She tells the owner that 3 people have called and complained about me being Native, that I'm pushing my Native on them. And so one of them, you think it's funny now? Hold on.
Man, no.
I made him supposedly call me by my Indian name. He wasn't allowed to call me Jessa anymore.
Keep going.
And I was just like, my Indian name? First of all, I don't even like the word Indian. When the hell? So it was these 3 stories that, you know, supposedly were happening. So I told her, I was like, all right, well, check it out. If that really went down, I want to know word for word what was said, right? Because these are in messages. Write them down. I want to know the egg was said, and I want to know the date that it was said. And she was like, okay. And then comes back and tells me, oh, well, the owner says that it's invasion of privacy and I can't do that. And I said, I didn't ask for their names. I don't even want their names at all. What I want is the information that I asked for, because right now what this is defamation of character.
There you go.
And that was it. I never heard anything again. And I just decided, like, you know what? I don't have anything to do with them. I'm still like, you know, again, it could be a lawsuit. Not only the toxic environment, but the racism, like everything. And even the owner came at me with some really disrespectful things during our meeting, you know. And so I just said, you know what, because of the toxicity, I'm going to just step back right now. And I'm going to just focus on other avenues. But I have my clientele, right, that's what they love. That's what they came for every single time, was they'd like be like, tell me something else about you being Native. That's so amazing. You know. And then one thing that I have that a lot of the other therapists that I come across doesn't have is that connection to, like the saying goes, we're all related. And there's a deeper connection to that saying that people don't understand. And in the work that I do, I'm able to pull that across in through my body and out into their bodies, and they feel it. And I've had people cry on the table and be like, what is that you did that nobody's ever done? Like, I felt it, you know. And it's undescribable what it is that I do. And there's so many people that are disconnected from self, disconnected from culture, disconnected from community, that they'll never understand that, what it is that I do, you know. But that's what people come for. And so in that way, I don't have to separate being Native to, you know, walking in the white man's world. But what I do have to separate is the understanding that I do have to charge people money to pay my bills, because that's a hard thing for me. I'm like, this kind of gift is supposed to be where you offer me what you have. I don't demand to you what you're supposed to give me, you know? So that's where I struggle, you know? And right now for this whole year, I've been basically telling people I'm not charging for what I do. And that has felt so good, you know, to just be like, I'm not setting a set rate, but I am accepting donations, and the donations have been coming in very lovingly, you know, so it's been a good balance for that.
That's good.
But
Damn, man. That's a lot of stuff.
the music though, it is hard.
Man.
Because, you know, like we grew up with like bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks, you know, and how often were we bumping those songs on the way to the powwow or to ceremony? Or it's hard to separate that, you know. And I remember like growing up working with those guys I told you, I had some gangster lyrics, like some hard lyrics, you know. and I wasn't lying about anything I ever said either, because you know, I'm talking about the life that I was living or whatever. But at the same token, it comes a point where you realize like you can't live like that no more. You're not a little kid no more. You got to grow up, you know, and that environment was just as toxic, you know. And as you grow and you learn, you learn a new way. So it's like me doing Cardi B type songs, I don't feel that I could do it, but I know there's money in it. But I just feel like if I'm doing it, I'm probably gonna just sell out, and like it's like selling your soul to the devil. You know what I'm saying? So I don't mind writing those kinds of songs and selling them to somebody, but me personally performing them, I just can't do it.
Oh, okay.
You know, so that for that like whole thing, it's a little hard. I'm trying to find like the healthy balance of what's okay to, you know, because like I'm sure you heard my song Youngster. And I'm talking about these people growing up in the hood and what it's like, you know, and I even talk about a home invasion in that song. But what I'm doing is I'm telling a story, and they're true stories, you know. But I'm just not doing WAP kind of music, you know.
What's that for our listeners over 30 or 40?
Google it.
Okay. How do you work a computer?
Oh my god. And what about growing up? Like when you were younger, was it still about the same thing? Like you already knew, or you had culture in you? Like your parents, you know, sharing it or talking about it? Did that help growing up, living in the two worlds?
How's mom and dad, first of all?
Yeah, they're good, really good. It really did help, because like I said, you know, we grew up with the writers and the choloism and like, you know, all of that, but then we also had ceremony. We had the understanding of who we were, and from day one it was always know who you are, know your roots, you know. So that was a blessing. But like I remember, I guess before 8 years old, I just seen us all as one big family, like you know, cultures, you know, we were all one and the same. And then when I went into 4th grade, I remember I went to this school. It was like all Mexican kids, you know, and it was cool. I didn't see any difference. We all looked the same. But I was only there for 2 weeks. And then they called my mom and they were like, hey, we're going to bus your kids out to this other school because we don't have room for them anymore. And from that point forward, we were bused to a like all white school. And that was my first experience. And like, I'm different because they're telling me I'm different, not because I see the difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I felt the difference. But when somebody's sitting there going, go back to Mexico, you effing wetback. And I'm, it went over my head. And I went home and I was like, Dad, what's a wetback? And he's like, who called you that? What does she look like? Did she have blonde hair? Did she have blue eyes? Did she have white skin? And I'm like, what? So he's like, go back and tell her, hey, okay, I'm a wetback, but you're a soaked back. Because if you're calling me that because my family crossed a river, what about you? Your family crossed an entire ocean. So she went told her dad, hey, this little wetback called me a soapback because she said da 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 da. So her dad goes, well, go beat her up. So she comes back to school and she's like, I'm gonna beat you up. And I'm like, I don't want to fight. I'm really scared to fight you. Let's just, and I was like, all right, let's go. And I mopped her ass up. And it would kind of go like that for the next couple of years of like, you know, having to endure this racism with these schools that I was being forced into. But I remember when that all happened and the suspension and everything, my mom looked at my dad and was like, Joe, you can't be having the kids, you know. And so she made us get dressed in regalia and she took us to school and she called a whole ass assembly. Like, you little white kids are gonna learn today. You know? But my dad wasn't like, go tell her you're California native. Go tell her. No, he was all, fuck her. Go diss her. So my mom took it upon herself to say, you kids are getting educated now. And I'm going to show you the culture, you know, that our children are a part of. In this case, we showed them powwow culture. Okay. And then she explained to them about our background of being California native. And so these kids, it was like a whole world opened up to them because they've been fed, because the schools that I went to, they were like KKK neighborhoods. So they were like hate everybody except for, you know, white. Yeah, it was scary. But
you want to share? Can you share the name of the school? Was it in the Valley? Okay, was it in the Valley?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'll probably message you later. I want to know because I went to San Fernando Valley and North Hollywood High School.
Okay, because yeah, everybody in LA and North Hollywood and the San Fernando Valley, if you were getting in trouble, you were getting bused to these schools, which was that I was getting bused to these schools because
That's why you be going to those schools, girl.
It was unfair for me though, because it was like all that happened was this school my mom put me in, they had too many students and they had to and so automatically from that I was put into these scandalous environments, you know. But so my mom had us educate them, and from that point forward there was a whole respect factor, you know, towards me and my brothers being native. You know, before that it was just an automatically you're a wetback and you're this and you're that, you know, but it made them question their parents and the racism that their parents were spewing out, because there was more to it that they didn't know and understand. So we got to kind of like fill in those blanks for them. But it just sucks because we're like walking educators and we should just be able to hang out and chill sometimes.
Yeah, that's the struggle right there. We're always considered the bad guys, the cowboys and Indians, and we're just chilling at school, man.
Yeah. As soon as they start talking about the natives, everybody turns around and looks at you.
Yeah, but I had the whole res in my crew.
See, that was the different experience too. I remember, you know, because the schools that I went to, obviously the educators that we had, they're learning from white professors. And I remember being in 8th grade and having history tap on my desk. Like, your people came from China. And I was like, no, they didn't. And just because I talked back and tried to school her on what I did know, I got
yeah. That's the way it is.
Damn.
You know, luckily my dad right? My dad came and my dad was like, nah, listen, lady, you're in the wrong. My daughter shouldn't have been suspended because you're an idiot, and let me put you on the game. And so my dad sat there and educated her.
See, that's why we wanted to start this right here. What we're doing right now is more for the educators to be educated, because like we said, they have that struggle too of finding the right information. They Google, they have all these worksheets, and they do what they got to do, you know, to teach for the day, which is hard itself, 30 kids or whatever. And we wanted to share this and just to talk within the school system, because, you know, you go to the school system, I go to the school system, and we educate them and we try to have them understand. And we're just like, come on out and visit. Anyway, come to the res or come to the rancheria or come to the certain area. We'll show you guys and we'll have a little trip. And then Some of them do, some of them don't, but we always have a struggle too with our little city down the road, which is less than 15 miles away. Them coming up to our reservation is so difficult, according to them, but it's understandable. I mean, busing kids up there, getting permission slips, but the main thing is us doing our part, going down there and educating the system itself, even though we really don't want to because we know how the system is, right? And that's always the struggle too. But living in these two worlds is difficult because you have to abide by the laws, and then you have to abide by our spiritual laws and our tribal laws. And most of the, let's say, the adults in the room, better term for the people that make legal rights, the people that make the education system, consider them the adults and we're still the kids, right? They don't really understand or recognize, is the big word, recognize indigenous cultures with Aboriginal territories, meaning the land itself.
Right.
Whose land you're on, whose land is this, and what are they all about? Even though there's blood and bones underneath the ground itself, whole different scenario you could take them into. And then with the whole missions in California, the missions are the main thing. It's not down the white man, it's down the missions for us out here in Cali, because what they did with the gold rush too. That's part of our culture here in California, but we don't really understand. Tribes really don't understand here, but missions is usually the bad word for us.
Yeah, like how they had their boarding schools. We had our, and then at some point people were getting sent to boarding schools too.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to share your story?
To Honor, I said hi.
Oh, he's right there?
Yeah. I saw him walking by.
he went to, what was it, an elementary school? Come here.
I don't remember what they said.
You want to talk through me?
Yeah.
Okay. So he went to go sing and dance with my mom and Eddie and some powwow people. And what
Honor.
did you guys do when she said that? So they had done grand entry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after they stopped, the music stopped, the teacher was like, go.
So after we did grand entry, we did introductions, and after the introductions, then she said, "Oh, now we can start our class since you cleared out all the evil spirits."
Did you say but except you?
And that's the kind of ignorance we got to deal with too with educators is, first, before you have me come talk to your class, why don't you spend like 3 weeks to a month with me personally and let me hash some things out so that you know what's not acceptable in speaking about my culture, So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Honor.
Thank you.
You want to share that story too? What happened? He went to to San Fernando Mission?
Yeah.
For school?
For school in 4th grade.
In 4th grade.
And my teacher kept pointing me out because
when his teacher was educating the students on what was going on, which I will give this man credit. He did good research. He actually went through my mom for some information too of what was acceptable. So he takes them to the mission and honors people. And so he kept putting out honor, and honor was turning to people.
Yeah.
He said he would have him stand next to him for the presentation. Honor was the token Indian. Sorry. But yeah, that's something that I would love to see educators learn is, how to interact with us and our teachings as they choose to share our culture with their students.
But those students remember too. They remember the symbolism, and they understand what's going on, and they get interested again. People on here cycling back. Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, this is why now since I'm an adult. I mean, us physically, we know history, but then we get older, we want to understand the history and go back to it, and that's a great mindset too. Somehow we want to learn more, which is great. I mean, but everything recycles again with the next generation all the time. It's your games.
Yeah. And
games.
One of the things that I've been trying to push is, why start with adults in teaching them about what's acceptable, what's not, history, how to treat the land? Like, why start with adults and all of that when in reality we need to start with the children? So I've been pushing that agenda of all of it needs to be held with the babies first, you know, the 3, 4, 5 year olds, right, from pre-K and TK, whatever they call it, and kindergarten, and then first grade, second grade, third grade, all the way up to fifth grade. Like, all of that every year needs to be, you know, gardening. It needs to be, you know, culturally understanding, all of it. Because when you start as a child understanding the relationship between us and, you know, the sacred grounds that we walk on, that connection will never ever be lost. You have a deeper understanding. You're not going to think it's not a big deal to just toss this little thing off to the side, you know.
I hate when people do that.
You know, one time with my ex-boyfriend at a show, and his manager threw a bottle down on the ground. He was drunk. And I just said, there's no point in arguing with a drunk person. So I sat down and I picked up the bottle and I put it in my purse and I didn't say a word. And that was the best response I ever got, because he right away was like, oh my God, I was so disrespectful right now. I shouldn't have done that. I promise you I'll never litter again. And I didn't even say a word. Usually I'll be like, you're so disrespectful. Da, da, da. The trash can's like right there. Here, let me throw it away for you. And I usually get like some pushback of people feeling like, oh my God, you know, but he, without saying a word, he was like, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Sometimes that's the way to go, huh? Without even knowing.
But see, had he been in an educational system where he was learning how to honor the earth from day one, he would have never done that anyways. And so that's where I feel teaching them young. And we already know that households aren't taking the responsibility to teach their children anything. They really believe that, well, that's what school's for. I hear so many parents say, well, that's what school's for. Why are you
That's crazy.
language, you know? And I'm like, when is he going to learn sign language at school? Why are you teaching your son the ABCs? And I'm like, no, I'm teaching my son everything that I want my son to know, including how to be respectful, how to be a loving person, how to be a decent member of society, because your school's not here to teach you that. School's here to tell you you're a factory worker. So, you know, but I do believe that teaching these children that much from youth is going to be helpful in helping them to be independent thinkers, you know, to think for themselves instead of going roll with the wolves, eh?
Oh man,
That's a lot that I have to think on too. Like, with my kids now, like, I'm gonna be like your mom, go to the school, teaching them, or then I have to explain to them, like, okay, this is what they're teaching you. Well, this is what it really is, or, yeah, like I have to put in my work too without even realizing it. That goes into like the two-world subject, that it's like my kids are going to be in that too, so now I have to prepare them. Like,
yeah,
I don't want
her
them.
kids,
Our kids,
yeah,
okay.
her kids,
we have to, I'm sorry.
her kids, okay, her kids.
It's an internal thing, you know.
Not mine. Mine are gonna do homeschool.
So,
But you know what? There's something to that because of the way. Because Yendi, you went to LAUSD too, didn't you?
yeah.
So you know, like it was a horrible environment all the way around, from the way that these children are behaving to the way that they're being taught, right? Like it was
Or
just
spoken to, treated by the teachers or the security guards.
From my experiences, I mean, like it was just so much racism against Native people, well, against Browns, right? But it was so much racism and daily offense that I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I dropped out in 9th grade for a reason. You know, I couldn't get past 9th grade, not because I was an idiot, because I wasn't falling for their BS and I wasn't going to tolerate the mistreatment. So I was just like, you know, I'm going to go to homeschool. I'm going to do what I got to do. And then I even dropped out of homeschool, but I went and I got my high school.
How'd you drop out on homeschool?
Why or how?
How?
Well, how? Do you just stop
You just
going?
stop going to school at home?
No, you stop turning in paperwork or meeting up with
Yeah,
I'll just mess with it.
because I was still enrolled in a school program and I was just like, I'm just not going to go anymore. And so I stopped. But I did get my high school diploma through LAUSD, through a program where I didn't have to go to school. All I had to do was take the test.
Oh
and
yeah.
went to do my massage gig and all of that. But then when I had him, I cried. I was like, oh my God, I can't have him going to public school. Like he's gonna be a piece of shit of a person. Like I can't have it. So I was very fortunate that I was looking into homeschool programs and found K through 12, and that's what he's been going through since first
Ever. Yeah. For a
grade.
while. Yeah.
So, and now what are you're gonna be sixth grade?
I'm going into sixth grade.
He's gonna go into sixth grade.
Oh, middle school.
Is that middle school down there, or is it still
Yeah, it's
elementary?
out here. Once you hit fifth grade, it's on to middle school for sixth, and then sixth,
Okay.
seventh, eighth, and then high school is ninth and on.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Got that
he
system
might
too.
go to public school for high school, but only for sports. If he doesn't want to,
Oh, yeah.
no point.
Oh, okay. But hey, man, you guys have been doing a good job. I'm sure he's gonna be like headstrong in there, and he's gonna be good.
Yeah, thank you. And that's kind of where I'm like, once you get past elementary school, you're sharper on thinking for yourself. But once you get past middle school, you're mostly in the clear. You know, there's still the hard-headed fools that want to jump you because you're not from their hood, and you're like, but I don't bang anything.
Oh my God, you know what? I heard this story of like one of his cousins. His cousin doesn't bang, but he was getting stopped, and they were like, "Hey, where are you from?" They were Mexican though, and they were like, "Yeah, no, you're from somewhere." He goes, "No, I'm not from anywhere." But his cousin was like, "Well, I'm just from Tule, like, and but I'm not from nowhere." And then he was like, "Nah, that's where you're from. That's your gang right there." He was like, "No, it's not." And like, I don't know what ended up happening, if he got jumped or not, or
See,
they just
that's
didn't.
he shouldn't have said I'm from Tule. He has to
No,
say
but
I'm Native American, and then they go, oh, and they get thrown off. But hearing Thule, that just sounds like another gang to them, so they can't register it. So growing up out here, you just got, I'm Native American, and then they're just like, okay, that's a whole nother ball game right there. That's cool. Fuck, I'm gonna leave you alone. But I got stopped for the cops. That reminded me of a story when I got stopped by the cops. And they were telling me to throw my gang signs. And I kept insisting, like, I don't gang bang, sir. Oh, all of you little, and he's like cussing at me, and all you little worthless nothings are from gangs out here. So just go ahead and throw up your hood. And he starts naming hoods. Why don't you throw up that hood? That's your hood, huh? And like trying to like instigate, I was put into the gang files under, I don't even know what gang, because they were taking my pictures and they put me into the gang files.
What?
Damn, you repping, huh?
I was like, CN, all sign language, and CN.
NA, Native American.
But it's, it's that thing of how you look and living in a certain area. My bad, I can't afford to live in Beverly Hills or whatever, but would I even want to with all that constant racism? Like,
yeah, then there's another thing that you have to deal with.
Yeah. So.
Like dirty laundry.
Yeah. It was
what?
Just the white jokes.
Oh.
Hard up here for that reason, of having to deal with the cops. And I think I was always more nervous to see the cops than I was to see cholos out here. And that's
true. That's sad, yeah. Now that you bring it up, I was like, yeah.
Flashbacks over here.
Yeah. You just didn't think about, because it's just everyday life growing up.
Yeah.
I remember I got pulled over with a bunch of guys in my car, and the cop was like, what are you doing hanging out with these low lives? And you're better than that. They seen all my massage stuff in the back, my school stuff. You're better than that, and you're this and that. And I'm like, why are you judging them so harshly when you haven't even had a conversation with them? Like, I couldn't understand that, because I'm like, I've known each of these guys personally, and they're not horrible people. They might make stupid decisions now and again, but that's all life's all about, fucking up and learning, So I couldn't understand it, because they were my neighbors. What's wrong with my neighbors?
Yeah, that's so true. And I still have some of my friends, like I still go back over there and I still hang out with them, or we'll like just hang out for a bit, but then I'm like, oh wait, but I gotta go, or like I got still my things to do. But yeah, I don't see anybody as bad. Everyone has their own life, and they choose to do what they want to do. But Yeah. I mean, yeah, just like you said, like, just conversate with them. Like, they're not bad people.
That's the thing, you know, so many people, we've all been conditioned, each and every one of us. We've been conditioned to think that there's levels to this. So whites are here, right? And then it's men here, and then it's blacks here, and then it's Asians here, and then it's like Mexicans here, and then it's like natives way down here. Right? And we've been conditioned to that. So if you're Mexican or native, like you're like the lowest of them all. Blacks are kind of acceptable in certain environments if they can speak a certain way, right? But then if you're out in a public setting, like, you know, I don't know, at the grocery store, and you see a black person walk in, then you're going to grab your purse and you're going to hold on tight, right? Because we're conditioned to do that. And if you see a bald Mexican dude crossing the street, you're going to lock your door, right? So there's all this conditioning that society has put on us. And if you see a native woman, it's okay to just grab her butt and grab her in places that's disrespectful, because we're conditioned to disrespect our native women, right? And it's all of this conditioning that needs to be undone. Yeah. But we don't even realize that it's there because it's become the norm. Yeah. To sit here and think certain ways about certain people without knowing who they are, just seeing their skin color and putting them in that category. And that's not cool.
Damn, we're getting on some deep conversations here.
I'm still on subject 1 where I missed out and everything.
Oh my God.
We'll have to talk about that another day.
I'm like, what the hell? Where was I?
Yeah, it was an interesting year for sure. It was hard, but you know, I also, in my spiritual view of it, I look back and go, it was part of my growth, right? It was part of my spiritual growth, and there was a lot of things that I had to learn. And so instead of holding on in a way of being like, you know, toxic, and holding on to it and causing myself to become toxic, I was able to see the goodness in it and say, it's cool, I'm gonna move on and do for me. Because I remember when I first signed with him, before signing, he was all, mija, who pays for your music to be distributed? I said, I do. Who pays for your music to be recorded? I do. Who pays for, and he's asking me who pays for everything, and I'm like, I do. And then he was all, well, you never have to worry about that again, mija. I got you from this point forward. And I actually told him, yeah, we'll see about that. Because I don't trust nobody. And I open up and be like, okay, let me just cave to your every need and fall to your feet and let you do because you have money. I don't care you have money. If we could work cool, then we could work cool. But if you're going to be some kind of way, I'm not going to participate. So it took a while for me to see the true. But I'll tell you a story, Johnny, that you're going to be like, what?
Wait, go back to your pickle jar real quick that you're drinking out of.
Oh.
I didn't even see that. Wait, did she really like?
Yeah.
Oh, was it when I walked away?
No.
Is it really a pickle jar?
It's salsa, but it's.
Oh. Hey, you know, I save the spaghetti sauce jars. I save them, and
I throw them away. She don't know. Then I go and buy more.
I do too, and then people go, "What are you drinking? Moonshine?" And I'm like, 10 years sober, homie. 11 now, but no. So one day we're in the studio, right? And remember when that devastating massacre happened in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
And you remember what the news was saying? So we're in the studio, and the one of the producers, because first of all, I don't know why we weren't working on music when we were in the studio. But these guys are talking amongst themselves in front of us. And so the producer goes, oh, yeah, you know, that massacre, that it was the worst massacre in U.S. history. And right away, I was all, that's not true. And so homeboy that she told you I was signed to, he turns around and he yells at me. And he goes, whatever the United States government did to the Native Americans doesn't count.
Damn.
And I said, excuse you? Can you say that again? And he said it again. And then he gave me that look that was like, you better shut right now. And so I just sat there pissed. But there was a famous rapper that was in the room who was interested in Native Americanism. Like he had taken an interest when I sent him that song Home of the Brave. And he was all, that was hard. He even repeated that I didn't cross the border crossed me. Damn. And he was there when that took place. And I seen his look was just kind of like, what? But then I didn't say another word. And then everybody moved on. But I was furious. So then we got to the car that same night. And he turned around and he let me have it. And he was like, you don't bring up your Native American BS. You leave that away from me. I don't want nothing to do with it. You know, when you're with me, you sit down and you shut up. And I was like, excuse you? And he was like, when you're with me, you sit down and you shut up. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. You're here as an artist. You're not here as a historian. What do you want to be, an artist or a historian? And I was like, I want to be an artist who speaks my truth. And he was like, well, not around me. And I was like,
oh my God, I'm so sorry that you went through that. Damn.
Well, get this. It was like weeks later, Taboo put me on his playlist as Native Americans in Philanthropy. So in my head, I was like, oh, guess what? I'm actually a philanthropist. So take
Nice drop.
But little things like that were like Taboo did the playlist, and I was at such a broken point of like, oh, I just got to lose myself. I just got to get a house for me in honor. I just got to get a house for me in honor. It's okay. Just take the abuse for now. Just take the abuse for now. And then Taboo doing what he did and putting me in his playlist made me go, no, you're worth it for what you want to do. Stand true to yourself. Don't participate in it. So I would stand a little taller each day, and I let him and his assistant know what's up. Like I've spoken my truth to the both of them. And I think what really bothers them is they're 70-year-old Mexicans. So they've got that 70-year-old male Mexican mentality of like women should be seen and not heard, and that kind of, you know. So I think it really got to them that I was a strong, outspoken woman and I was Native. And so I was coming out speaking things that nobody was ready for. But I ain't gonna stop for nobody.
That's just one case, huh?
Yeah, oh my God. I'm scratching the surface right here.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Let me see. Okay, one more thing we wanted to touch on. It is the female side of protocol in culture. Explain that a little more if you want.
The protocols of you growing up like that, right? Certain protocols for the female within your tribe or tribes, depending on which one you want to speak about. What protocols do they have culturally within your tribes?
One of the things that has pretty much stuck with us is like when we're in ceremony, we wear, skirts. I think the moon protocol that tends to follow the states, that was a part of us too, is during certain points in time, you were to kind of stay away from everything. But it is hard with the modern day society. So we have our knowings, our teachings, and understandings. But when it came to like ceremony, then that's a whole ceremony in its own, so that's the woman's time to be separate. And with it would also depend the level of ceremony, but even like, when we do bear ceremony, it's kind of held the same as if you were to do sweat, is if you're on your moon, there's a moon hut for you at bear ceremony. So we do have the belief that women are powerful beings and we're sacred beings, but in these moments of time, in like the bear ceremony, because bears, they sweat and then they're holding ceremony for all of us. We're asked to stay a distance away and send our prayers to them, but not sit near the circle where everybody is. So there are those kinds of protocols that unfortunately men will never have to experience, right?
We experience it. Go over there. You gotta stay home.
Right. But like if it's my moon and bear ceremony is happening, like I can't be around that drum. And I have that understanding, and it's my responsibility to uphold that respect, because I could lie and be like, oh, you know, it's I'm on my moon and know that, but like not tell anybody else, and just like, no, it's all good, I'll hop in the kitchen and I'll, you know, but it's out of respect that I know. And so I'm going to stay away, because what I know is that our medicine is so strong that we could actually take away from the medicine that's happening here. So we have to honor that. And by sending our powerful, you know, medicine down that way at a safe distance, that energy it's alive and well, and there's no matter of distance. I could be at my house while they're having that ceremony and focus myself into that ceremony and offer my prayers to them, and it'll be received. But being in physical contact with it, there's a whole nother element that takes place. So I just have to keep that, you know, that respectful distance.
Yeah, for the ones that, you know, don't, for the viewers that aren't understanding really, is the main thing about is the intent of the ceremony going on. And then you itself, female-wise, going through her certain ceremony, like everybody is there for this one ceremony, right? And we're giving it all, and then she's over here coming in and is interfering with the main thing that what we're praying to. So she needs to do her own thing and then do her own way of meaning praying or whatever spiritual side she wants to do, giving that up at a distant wise. Even though it sucks, but that's part of the rules of our game, spiritual side of it. And it's the intent of giving it, you know, bring in whatever culturally we're going to do, meaning spiritual side or whatever we're praying to. More of that kind of sense for the normal average viewer that doesn't understand what we're talking about.
Right. But, you know, it's also a beautiful thing, because it's the understanding that women are so powerful.
Yeah.
It's not to take away from them and put them down in any way. It's that we are so powerful. And so to honor that, we separate ourselves for that moment in time. And it's for us, because in these monthly moments, you know, it's for us to internalize and focus, you know, on all of our intent, as well as, you know, healing and cleansing. So it's a beautiful thing. And I wish everyday society would be like, oh, moon time, take your 5 days, take your 5 days. Go take a moon hut. I wish we could have moon hut every, you know, not just for ceremony, but every month. Like, that would be ideal. Yeah. But see, other people don't understand that whole, you know, what the process. They know about the eggs and the reproductive process, but they don't know about the spiritual element of the process. And it's really beautiful.
You know, when I first started going to powwows, they didn't tell me about that rule. And then until maybe a month later, Ashley, Jimmy's wife, she was like, hey, you know, she just brought it up wait, don't you know? Or I can't remember how she worded it to me. And then I was like, huh? What is that? And then she explained it to me. She said, they didn't tell you? And I was like, no. And she goes, yeah, you shouldn't be here. And I said, no, I didn't know that. And then I think I left, or I don't know if that was when I didn't have it. But anyways, yeah, I got educated on that too afterwards. But then he was like, his mom was like, wait, you didn't tell her? He was like, I'm a guy. I didn't think I was. Yeah. And afterwards I was like, oh yeah, you know, most guys wouldn't say that to a girl. And then and then
I barely met her.
And then she explained it to me, and then she was like, yeah, this is the way it is, or how, you know, the way it goes. And I was like, oh, okay. And then from then on, I was like, I knew already. So
yeah, and you know, and above all, you know, people have different beliefs to that extent too. But above all, it's just the respect of stay away from the drum. So even if you're not dancing, but your kids are, because let's face it, there's gonna be our kids have head position, and you're where you're at, and you're, come on, I'm a single mom, and I got to take my son to be head boy. You know, and I'm gonna have the respect to be. I'm gonna probably be hanging out with Aunt Patty selling her jewelry. You know, okay. But honor will be closer to the powwow and you know, with the care or whatever. But it's, for the most part, it's staying away from the drums that we really worried about.
Thanks for bringing that up. I didn't even think about that, or have to think about that yet, because of the kids.
Yeah.
That's a good.
And I don't want you to think like, oh, but I have to miss it because, you know, and those are precious moments too, and we should be there for it. But at that moment, it's going to be on you to pray and decide for yourself if you're in the arena when they're doing their walkabout, or if you're just going to ask close family to be the ones to do that for you, you know?
Yeah. Mm.
And, you know, some people are going to be so strong, opinionated about it. They're going to say, absolutely not. You can't step in them. I will tell you, it's going to be up to you to make that prayer and that call. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I would probably just have my family go out there for me, and my son would have to understand.
Yeah. But look, luckily, he can go with them.
There's something just ran by in the kitchen right now.
What?
Nothing.
You got little people there?
Something.
Great.
Put an offering out.
I'm gonna put some offering out for this.
Okay, let me see. What else? Did you want to share anything else? We've pretty much hit on the subjects that we wanted to hit on. But
which one?
I'm opening it up to you if you want to share something that we didn't speak on, or something that you do. Share, I'll share your links to your website for your music, but it's you. All you right now.
So, as you said, I am an author. I wrote a book called Sisterhood. Mm-hmm. This book called Sisterhood talks about what we were talking about being Native and growing up in the hood and having to find that balance. So it kind of talks about that, aspect. But these girls, they're because they're together through their sisterhood, helping each other out throughout all the drama and the pain and whatever. They're able to help each other to get through it and be successful in life. So I wanted to write that book to do exactly opposite of what teachers in LAUSD have been doing to us and telling us we're worthless. I'm telling our young Native women and Chicanos and everybody who wants to read it that no, you are worth something and you can do this. And so in it, I spit a little bit of game in it too, but I'm inclusive also to the tribal people of past the southern border. Mm-hmm. So, I include them in being Native in it, and talk about, this young woman, her family is from, this village or, this area in Mexico, and this is her nation. I include that as well as, there's a Chumash girl and there's a Tongva girl and there's, some Tataviam in there. And because how many people even know about us, California people? So that's in there to give a little something. And then for the Mexicans that always, call themselves Latinos and Hispanics, to remind them that if you look like me, you in fact do have Native blood, and so my goal in the book is to give people their pride back.
That's cool.
What was taken from us, so I haven't put it out yet. I'm still.
Okay, I was gonna ask. I was like, when did you release this?
Yeah.
So did I miss something else?
I'm in the final phases of it right now. So,
okay. Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just say, maybe by April it should be released. So be on the lookout for it. And when it is released, I'm gonna just push hard, but I'm gonna rely on the community to continue to share it and be like, yo, this is a single mom Native woman who made a book. Purchase it. It's good medicine, in my opinion, to help our young ones to see it from another point of view and have that pride of self, and just be able to not easily, but more easily maneuver their way through the white man's world that we've all been forced into. So,
I like that.
So be on the lookout for that.
Yes. Send me the info so then I can share it and push it with you too, help you out.
I will. And then also there's a movie that we're filming early February. It's called The Woman Who Blooms at Night. And I have a small part in that. It's like a short film. So I have a small part in that film, and I'm going to be posting that soon on my page to ask people to donate to those women, because it's all Native women who are involved in the directing and the writing of it. So
cool.
Ask for people to help donate for their project to get, put up.
The women, the women who bloom at night,
The Woman Who Blooms at Night.
or the woman. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a really good. I read it and like I like this, so I'm participating in a small part of the movie.
Nice.
That's cool.
So there's that, and then other than that, just every purchase and every stream helps for the music. So you can buy my new stuff on Bandcamp, Jessa Calderon, or stream the hell out of it. Even if you don't like my music, but you want to support me as a person, then put it on mute and bump it, or
Help us sister out.
You know what I'm saying? Because I get like 0.00001 of a penny for it, so at least let it add up.
Oh, for each song that is played?
Yeah, you get like a penny for it, but as it adds up, you'll eventually turn it into $1.
Oh, and is that for all platforms, or is it just the one that you're with?
Yeah, it's the majority.
Oh.
There's some platforms that pay a little bit more than others, but like Spotify, they're pretty not good, but they're like one. So you pretty much want to keep your music on Spotify, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the one that Jay-Z owns, like he's a little better for the artist because he's an artist himself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
But I forget what song, but Beyonce actually mentions it. She was like talking about she's gonna have her music here and there, but not on Spotify because they're not paying the artist well.
Damn, and to think like there's a lot of people on there too.
Yeah, so I mean it does add up. If I had 1 million listeners, I'd get a little bit of money, but for people who just want to say I support you, but they don't ever play your music, it affects us,
Oh.
So yeah, if
Title.
you play it. And then what's a trip? Home of the Brave came out 2016, and it's still my #1 played song today.
Damn.
Every time I look at the stats, that one has so many more plays than any other of my songs. So it goes to show that the people do hear it.
Yeah. That's cool. That's good. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. But no, I think that's all I could think of for now. Just, I am really excited about the book. Like, I remember when I first said I was going to write it, I was 18. And it was just this idea in my head. I'm at massage school and I wrote down these names, right? It was a group of girls and I wrote it down with the understanding of what I wanted to do with it. And then I was 18. And then when I was 25, I went and I bought some, like a laptop for some work stuff that I had to do. And then once I had it, I was like, remember that time, right? So I went through my books and I found the notebook that I had wrote it in. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to write that book. So I started that in 2012, the idea of like, okay, I'm going to write it. And then it was probably finished more or less last year. But I was working with this director dude, and he sent me a video for me to share on my page, and he sent it with a virus. So I lost the song. I mean, not the song. I lost all my songs.
Yeah.
I lost the book.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I had to rewrite it. So luckily I had like something that I had saved a while ago, like the first version of it. So I took that first version and I wrote.
Damn, man.
So I think it was a blessing because my book turned.
People are so damn sketchy.
He sent it to me from a public library. Like, what did you expect? I was like, where did you send it from? He's like, a public library. I was like, gee, thanks, Dick. Now I gotta pay to get this back, and I haven't got it back yet. It's gone. I have to sneeze. Hold on. I guess I don't. I don't know. I feel like I do. But yeah, so that's it for me, I think. How about you guys? What are you working on?
Hold on. Granny Walzer, she is on YouTube. Look up Jessa Calderon.
Yes, you have music on YouTube. Thank you.
Well, us, still just trying to make things behind the scenes to like come out for the next season, or just come out with something new, trying to source out stuff, taking care of the kids, bouncing off of one another, like, hey, I got something to do today. You got them, or I need some time, or one of us will take them out, or, just balancing it out, trying to run our businesses from home. Sometimes just figuring it out as I go.
Is. But what about you, Johnny? Like, are you promoting, like, helping people make their websites, or like
Yeah.
Social media marketing?
Yeah, Social Marketing Nations, my other side gig, LLC, smnation.com, marketing, websites, digital marketing, landed a few clients right now. So it's a lot of behind the scenes work and getting things done in the background, and manipulating the marketing game is not an easy task, especially with colors and all this stuff. But it's a fun gig. I like PR itself too, and introducing people to the right people, especially in the Native American, what the people that need to talk to, and shaking hands or bump fists, and now I guess.
I was hitting feet.
Yeah, hitting feet or just going, "What's up?" But yeah, doing that stuff, it's pretty fun. I like it, especially just being home working too, graphic design and stuff like this in the background. It's fun, and then
you help people post.
Yeah, help people post, and then trolling on my Instagram itself. Staying fun, staying active too.
Things that you're posting on your personal. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's done.
Yeah. I kind of got on that stage of, I'm trying to build these guys, growing them, or their business itself, and other companies too, growing them. I'm like, whatever, I'll just do it myself. Okay, this is how you gotta do it. Watch, and then it just took off from there, which has been fun. I mean, laughter is the best medicine itself. I mean, I only go to a certain demographic, which is the Indigenous people. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. So that's fine. I'm not going to explain it.
It's pretty funny. This thing. But no, it's good to know about like the logos and stuff, because I've been thinking about it recently about, still thinking about what I want to do. But now that I know you do it, I'll keep that in mind for sure.
It's kind of what website you want to use, or what template you want to use, and it just goes on from there.
Yeah, like the image you want to put. So, we need to get the pictures, and then he will help you out to write your story on the website, or say the story on the website. Yeah. Your post, videos or pictures that you want to post up too. He got magic, and then it'll get more like, you'll get more people to get active on it, or it'll attract more people. It's just the magic that he adds to it that just will help your business.
I think what I'm thinking of right now more than anything is merch. So like making logos to make shirts and things like that. Mm-hmm. But it's not on the forefront for me right now because of the book and everything and funding. Mm-hmm. But when the book sells enough and the money comes in, I'll hit you up.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah.
Okay. I got well, I've been doing some research for my business. Like, I found people that sell shirts, people that sew or do the embroidery. If you don't have anybody, like, I could just send you some info. Like, hey, if you want to reach out to them, go ahead.
Okay, that'll be helpful for sure. Yeah, you could say that the one that I went through, he passed away or something like that. I don't work with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I said you could say. I didn't say he did.
Oh. Just tell him to be quiet. Baby sleep.
Oh,
no. That's okay.
I'll try to. That's funny.
Okay, I'm sorry, baby. Jessa, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. It was nice talking to you, catching up too.
Yes.
I know, it's sad.
And just so that we can hang out and talk,
I know. It's been a minute since I've seen you making those crazy drives or those meetups. Like, hey, meet me here. And like, okay, I'll meet you there. I'm here. Like,
so much love for that.
You took me to an area that I haven't been at for a while. When I went to Pacoima.
Yeah,
it had been a minute since I've been there. But yeah, hopefully Hopefully we can see each other at a powwow soon, or even just meet up.
Yeah, I don't want to be foot bumping you guys. I want to give you a hug. So
I know. Well, tell your parents we said hi. Yeah. Did you want to say anything else, or just close it out?
Let's close it out. That was good.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Again.
Good to talk to you all, and I hope to see you all soon.
Okay. Thanks. You too. Thank you, everybody. You can catch Jessa Calderon on YouTube, band
everywhere. Yeah, Bandcamp is where people can come and actually pay for my services. And like, if they buy a song on Bandcamp, it's their choice if they want to buy it for $1, or some people give more, like 5, 10, 15, whatever,
Ooh, okay.
right? So Bandcamp gives you that choice. But if you want to play my music, you can play it on any place where you play your music.
All music platforms. Hang on. Her Instagram is Jessa_songwriter 1. Okay. Thank you everybody for tuning in today on the Talking Stick. And we're gonna close it out.
I'm gonna go handle these little people right now. Stop messing around.
Oh.
Later.
Bye. Thank you.